Alright guys, hope you're all doing well, hope you're all keeping safe. Now I've been waiting a pretty long while to actually make this video. I've been trying to see if anything further comes up just so I can add more to the video, but I've got to the point where nothing further is happening to make this video any more substantial. So I thought I'd just bring it to you guys. Now if you're following me on Twitter, then you would have probably seen my tweet earlier where I was talking about this new IP or this clone or this spin-off or this competitor to The Division. And that's what I want to talk about today. Now this video is not clickbait, as I'm sure some of you might have thought when you saw the title of this one. I found evidence that we may be getting either a clone, a spin-off. Now spin-off, that could be possibly a clickbaity word, so take that for what you will, or competition for the Division franchise from former Division developers. Now that's the part for me that's really interesting. This isn't just speculation. I found one artwork of this project, and right off the bat, it looks very familiar. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you what I have, and we're going to talk about this. Remember, guys, to drop a like on this video and subscribe to stay up to date with all of the videos. And let's get straight into this one. Now, take a minute, and what does that look like to you? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, when I first saw this image, and to this day, what I'm seeing is two characters on a hillside, stood next to what looks to be like the nose of a crashed plane, overlooking an American city that's been destroyed. It's pretty apocalyptic, I believe. And both characters, they have a backpack. This one here I find particularly interesting with what looks like a brown jacket and some poking out of their backpack. It kind of reminds me of how the 50 cal in The Division 2 sticks out of the backpack. And the clothing itself actually reminds me of the clothing we got from The Division, especially that brown jacket, which I believe is pretty iconic. Actually, I bet all of you have looked at this and you've probably thought the same as me, and that this looks to be Division related, and that's exactly what I thought when I saw this image. It kind of just bleeds Division to me. Now the city, the two characters are overlooking, I believe to be Los Angeles. I'm not 100% sure about that. I did try and recreate this location using American cities with a skyline on Google Maps and stuff, and the closest I could get to was Los Angeles. Again, guys, I'm not from America and I don't really know skyline cities very well. So if you guys know where this location is, or you think it's not Los Angeles, or you believe it is and you've got evidence, then again, just let me know, either in the comments or follow me on Twitter at EpicSlayers and leave your stuff over there. But I'm pretty sure, after looking at this, that this is Los Angeles. Now, the next thing you're going to notice is the wording. So it says Project 2, a new universe full of adventures. So this all but confirms this is nothing to do with the Division universe, even if the only artwork that I've been able to find about this project, and I've done a lot of searching. I've got pretty ridiculous with this. The studio themselves, which I'm going to get onto, the studio themselves that are working on this, I've found all of their images, and I've been like, you know, getting microscopic with what's on screens and all that sort of stuff. And that image is the only image that I've been able to find about this project. But what this image has is a lot of similarities to the Division artwork. But this doesn't actually come as a surprise, and you're going to see why once you look into the studio working on this project. And this is what actually has me really excited for me about more details for this game. So who are making this? Sharkmob. This is the studio working on Project 2. Now, who are Sharkmob? Now, I'd actually heard of this studio a couple of years ago, not too long after the release of The Division back in 2016. Now, I'm not sure the exact date of when this studio came together. If you go onto their official page, it just says 2017. Their first ever Twitter post went out on January 20th, 2017, and their account on Twitter was created in the same month. So I'm going to assume that they got together before then, but the studio didn't actually officially launch until January of 2017, some 10 months after the launch of the Division IP. Now, why do I keep referencing the Division here when I specifically said before this has nothing to do with the Division? Well, this is where I started to get excited. Now, the Sharkmob studio was created by 5 people. and they are as follows. And I want to apologise if my pronunciation of these names are way off, but we've got Anders Holmquist, Frederick Rundquist, I've said that definitely wrong, Martin Holtberg, Petter Manifel, and Rodrigo Cortez. Now, these names will likely, they're not going to mean anything to most of you guys. They didn't mean really, I think the only name that I recognised when I read this list is Petter Manifel, but for most of you guys, that's not going to mean anything. Some of you guys actually might mean some, and if it does, you're probably going to be a little bit excited if you're a Division fan, which I'm assuming you are if you're watching this video. Now, all 5 of these people are former Division 1 developers. And they're not just normal developers in a sense. They are pretty senior. So Anders was the technical director. Frederick was the CEO and executive producer. Martin was the IP director and head of communications. Petter was the game director, producer, and technical director. And Rodrigo was the art director. So these are all very senior positions within the Division franchise. Now, since the launch of Sharkmob, many more people have joined the actual studio, of course. I'm not sure on exactly how big the studio is at this point, but they opened in Malmo in Sweden, which is where Massive is, and they now have an office in London as well. Their official website states they are working on 2 projects, but recent articles that I found confirm they're actually working on 3 new games. I think 2 of them are being developed in Malmo. I think one of them is being developed in London, only one of which has actually been announced, and that's the Vampire the Masquerade, which is a battle royale type game. But aside from that, we have basically two unannounced projects. Now, I believe as well there's also been other Division developers that have gone to Sharkmob. I don't know how many there were. I don't know if they were ones that were working on the Division 1 or the Division 2, but I'm pretty sure more Division developers have moved over to work with Sharkmob on this unannounced project that, as I said, and I'm sure you guys can agree, looks very, very similar to the Division. So with all of this in mind, what do I think? In 2019, Tencent Holdings actually acquired Sharkmob for an undisclosed price. Now, Tencent have full ownership of Riot Games, the developer of Valorant and League of Legends. They have 80% ownership of Grinding Gear Games, developers of Path of Exile. 40% ownership of Epic Games, developer of Fortnite. They have 5% ownership of this game and that game. And basically, they have many fingers in many pies all at the same time, including, and I think probably the most prominent is in mobile. But what's important is they are famous for making or financing clones, and successful clones at that. If you go onto Google and you were to put in Tencent clones, you will see plenty of clones that they've made that have pretty much all been successful. That's kind of what they're good at. Now, my hunch is that Sharkmob have been asked by Tencent to make a Division clone, or it's quite possible that Sharkmob were making a Division clone, which would make sense with everything that we've talked about in this video, and Tencent have invested in that project. This to me makes the most sense based on what we've talked about in this video. I don't think it's a coincidence that some of the biggest Division 1 developers that left Massive, some of those real kind of top positions, have created their own studio and they've started working on a Division clone. The artwork is there, and I think there's an audience there as well, because let's not forget, the Division 1 did very, very well. It was very, very successful. If you played the Division 1 from day one, then you would have seen just how good that game was. Sure, there was issues and stuff, but I think a lot of people that play the Division 2 now would love to go back to somewhat similar to how the Division was very early on, especially if you were someone who spent a lot of time in the Dark Zone. I think the atmosphere of the Division and just the overall premise of that game really got it right. And if these are the people that are now going to be working on a clone, then again, I'm very, very excited. And if you are a Division fan, you should probably be excited for that as well. I guess my only concern is that Tencent are invested in this, and when I hear Tencent, immediately bells start ringing about monetization, and I don't want the Division, this clone, to become this really, I don't want it to be a really good clone, a clone that we're all going to get invested in, but it just be crammed full of monetization. I did read an article, again, if I can find it then I'll put it in this video, but I read an article where one of the developers from Sharkmob basically said that yes, Tencent acquired them, but they're making their own games the way that they want to make those games. So that's really good to hear, because if they are working on a clone, then I'm really looking forward to seeing how that's going to pan out, and I'm hoping if they stick to their word, it won't be filled with microtransactions. Anyway guys, that's it for today's video. I think I've done enough rambling. The last thing that I just briefly want to say is, if you go back and look at the image that I put at the start of this video, you will note that there isn't any snow. So yeah, that's not a great thing, but you know, this is just artwork, it's preliminary stuff, I imagine, and all that stuff can change over time. So who knows, if we get a Division clone in Los Angeles with snow, then I don't really see how that can go wrong. But that's it guys, thanks very much for watching, and until the next video, epic out.